Do you like Nintendo Switch rumors? I hope you do, because we have a few. Alright, so this is something I'm pretty excited about. As you know, I am a big fan of this thing. I started out as a naysayer, and after I got my own, well, I just love it. I love the idea of a console that is both a regular home console and something I can take with me on the go. I was just in the States for the holidays with my girlfriend, like I mentioned in my previous video, and this thing was always with us. Because we were hitting up every single park in Orlando at probably the busiest season in the year, there was a lot of waiting in line, both at the rides and at the stores. So every time we had a couple of minutes to ourselves, we would pull out the Switches and play a couple of games to pass the time. We both absolutely love this thing, and I'm not sure about her, but I've always felt like the Switch is a bit on the big side. And yes, I've heard the suggestions of disconnecting the Joy-Con and putting the tablet portion in one pocket and the Joy-Cons in another. That's a little much. I would have just preferred something more on the form factor of the 3DS or the Vita. I know I'm not the only one. A lot of people have speculated about a Switch Mini or a Switch Lite, as it were. There are some mock-ups on the internet. And this week we have two more people chiming in on the smaller Switch rumor mill. So first up, we have Dr. Serkan Toto, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, of Canton Games. Now, before I put too much stock into his predictions, something I have to point out is that on his blog, he mentions the predictions he did last year, and he boasts that they were all correct. And they were, because they were all very obvious. 2018 will be another successful year for Nintendo. Well, yeah. Smash, Pokemon, Mario Party, of course the system was going to sell well. It's still pretty novel. You don't really need to be some kind of super insightful industry expert to predict that the Switch was going to sell well in 2000. Let's do a few more. So he also said that Microsoft was going to continue to struggle and next-gen rumors would emerge. I mean, again, it is pretty obvious that the Xbox is trailing behind in this generation. And the Xbox One and the PS4 are 5 years old at this point. To say that they're going to be next-gen rumors, it's just obvious. He also said that VR and AR were not going to break through, and again, I hate to repeat myself, but yeah, no duh. This is unproven, novel technology that is very gimmicky. There are a few decent VR games last year, but by and large, AR and VR are just gimmicks. A lot of sequels and remasters will be out. At this point, I think he's just trolling me. Yes, the things he says tend to be on the no Sherlock side, but this is what he had to say about a new Switch. While the 2019 Switch Pro has been already reported to be in development by the Wall Street Journal, I also think Nintendo will offer a Switch Lite or just keep the current version at a lower price to cover the lower end of the spectrum and offset sinking 3DS sales. This makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, yeah, it goes with everything else he says. It's expected. Nintendo, I don't think, wants to give up on owning that space, that market space inside your pocket. And again, the Switch, even if you consider just a tablet portion, not exactly pocket friendly. I don't think they'll want to let go of that dominance they exert in that space. Not only that, but the Switch is still a little pricier for younger kids, so it makes a lot of sense that Nintendo would want a product that is both cheaper and smaller, especially considering the 3DS is on its way out. The other person who also predicted a smaller Nintendo Switch for 2019 was infamous industry analyst Michael Pachter. And yes, that is the same Michael Pachter who said that the PS3, the Xbox 360, and the Nintendo Wii were going to be the final gaming consoles ever. He said that. He also said that the Xbox One was going to outsell the PS4. And not unlike a doomsday cult leader trying to prophesize the end of the world, he tried and failed repeatedly to predict the launch of GTA 5. 3 times! Why would you try to predict a date anyway? That's the worst thing. You have to be very confident or not super wise to try to do that. Anyway, Speaking to Gaming Bolt this week, he said this: "My guess is that Nintendo will try to take the Switch and get rid of the Switch part, so it'll be handheld only. They'll probably just make the Joy-Cons part of the integrated body of the tablet and probably drop the price. Get rid of the docking station and the external power supply. Just turn the thing into a handheld that is rechargeable with a power cord, you know, like a normal handheld, and charge $200 for it." This makes a lot of sense, and honestly, I would love to see this. Again, I love my Switch, but I really wanted something that fits in my pocket. Now, I understand that perhaps the biggest challenge here is the fact that some of the games on the Switch with that 6-inch screen, the text is already a little bit on the small side. There is, of course, this added design challenge when it comes to making games for the Switch, I should know, because you have to make games that work on a small screen as well as your big 52 LCD in your living room. So yeah, when I think about playing a text-heavy game on a screen that's really small, probably what's out for the Switch right now will not look good on something, say, 5 inches or even smaller. Now, this is where it gets the most exciting. Nintendo is rumored to put out a Nintendo Direct before the end of this month, and they have already revealed the release dates for Yoshi's Crafted World on the Switch and Kirby's Epic Yarn on the 3DS. So some people think, fingers crossed, that the reason they've already given out that information is to make more room in this upcoming Nintendo Direct. And it's not like they haven't used Nintendo Direct to announce new hardware in the past. The 3DS XL, the new 3DS, and of course the Switch were all revealed on Nintendo Direct. Now, some people might think that it's just too early for a new Nintendo Switch. This thing kind of just came out. It hasn't even been 2 years, in fact, and some people point out that a Nintendo Switch Pro might fragment the experience. So, like, what games will run on either one? Will they both work? Like, will that create consumer confusion? Will you not know which? Because, I mean, some people say that this is kind of what happened with the Wii U. People weren't sure if this is supposed to be some kind of halfway upgrade or a full new console. I understand that, but this hasn't been a problem with the new 3DS. It hasn't been a problem with the PS4 Pro. It hasn't been a problem with the Xbox hardware revisions. So maybe we've already gotten to the point where the consumer, by and large, understands how these things work. But some people just can't get past the fact that it just feels too early for a new Switch, and I beg to differ, and here's why. Let's look at the history of Nintendo portables for a second. The original Game Boy came out in 1989. The Game Boy Pocket, 1996. You'll notice that this was the longest wait between Nintendo handheld revisions. Check this out. The Game Boy Color came out 2 years after that in 1998. The Game Boy Advance came out in 2001. The Game Boy Advance SP, 2003. The Game Boy SP AGS 101, the model with the brighter screen, that came out in 2005. The Game Boy Micro, which is technically just another Game Boy Advance, also 2005. You notice that? It's always 2 years apart. Well, what about the DS? Same thing. The original Nintendo DS came out in 2004. The DS Lite, 2006, and the DSi, 2008. Again, 2 years. What about the 3DS? I'm glad you asked. The original 3DS came out in 2011. The 3DS XL, the following year, 2012. The 2DS, 1 year after that, 2013. The new 3DS, 2014, 1 year after that. When you take all of that into account, does it seem that weird for Nintendo to put out a new Switch this year? I don't think so. I want to see a smaller Switch. I'll buy that thing day one. I just want something smaller. Anyway, that's what I think. What do you think? Do you think we're gonna see a new Nintendo Switch this year? What are you most hyped for? A souped up Nintendo Switch with better internals, better screen? Or are you like me, you just want something more portable, more convenient, something that you can take with you anywhere you go? I mean, I already take this thing anywhere I go, but it'd be easier if I didn't have to bring a little backpack with me every time. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Make sure to follow me on social media. I'm very active over there, both Instagram and Twitter. Oh hey, I almost forgot. 99 Vidas, my indie game based on my Brazilian gaming podcast of the same name, is now available on the Switch, which is my favorite way to play the game. 99 Vidas, which by the way means 99 lives in Portuguese, is a 16-bit inspired street brawler in the style of classics like Captain Commando or Streets of Rage. There are tons of unlockable characters, bonus levels, challenging boss fights, there's an online mode. We put a lot of thought and work into 99 Vidas, and I think you will find that it shows. I did my own voice acting and everything. I mean, obviously I'm biased, but the soundtrack on this thing alone is worth the price of admission in my opinion. Just like every other Switch fan out there, we hate the so-called Switch tax, where indie games land on the eShop with a higher price point than their Steam versions. So 99 Vitas is actually cheaper on the Switch than on Steam right now, only $10. And hey, don't just take my word for it. There's a demo for you to try it free. So go to the eShop right now and download 99 Vitas. And that's all the time I have for today. I'm Izzy and I'm done.